Answer to your inquiring looks, no, I didn't get much sleep last night.
I feel partly responsible because you had a lot to absorb.
A lot of conflicting thoughts and feelings. But I did come to a major decision.
And what was that?
Well, after Luke blew Councilman Blake out of the water last night, I figure the councilman won't be a councilman much longer. They'll have to hold a special election to fill his seat. And I've decided to run.
Why did I see that coming, huh? Ooh. It's not gonna be easy. You know, you giving up your practice, moving down from Philly. But you're gonna win.
I knew there was a reason I liked the idea of living near you.
I would be delighted to have you here. And you know, this community really needs you. You have the strength, the integrity, and the energy that Port Charles hasn't seen since your father.
You know, I thought a lot about him last night.
I can imagine.
And my grandfather. It's not easy going forward when the past keeps slipping out from beneath me, Granny May. Who is he? Who is Bradley Ward's father?
I can't tell you that.
Why not?
You have a lot to accept since you came up to Port Charles, and I want you to know it's not easy, and you have handled it very well.
Don't try flattering me. I want to know who my grandfather was.
Honey, I need you to respect my decision to keep that door closed.
Granny May, I always respect your decisions. But last night, you told me my grandfather was a white man, whom I presume is still alive. Now, you just can't leave it at that.
I can and I must.
You mean to tell me that I will never be able to know him, who he is, or anything about him? It's absurd.
Justus, you were only 2 years old when your grandfather, Dan, passed away. Now, plenty of people only know a grandparent through stories that have been told.
Okay. So, tell me some stories. Something.
He was a handsome devil, which would come as no surprise. He was well educated and smart. He came from money, but he didn't throw it around. It was plain that he was determined to make his own mark on the world. He had a very down-to-earth approach to life. And he had a dry sense of humor. And he could be very funny.
Were you in love with him?
I was no more than a child. I thought I was in love with him. I certainly was in love with Buddy. But Buddy was gone. And I was lonely. And so was my young lieutenant. And he was going off to war. And for all we know, he could have been killed too. We had to make the best of that time we had. And then there was the music.
He came back to see you every night.
And I was in love with that, the appreciation, the way he looked at me when I sang. I drank it up. And I just loved the being in love of it. The understanding that he showed me. If it had been a different time, if it hadn't been the war, if I had been older and wiser, if...
We would have stayed together?
Oh. Choosing to live a life with a white man was different in those days than it is now. And neither of us gave any thought to anything beyond the moments we spent together. What else could we count on? The whole world could end in a minute. Still, it was a wonderful time. I learned a lot about myself then. And it gave me Bradley. Such a long time ago, yet it seems like it was yesterday.
You said that you saw the lieutenant again.
Many years later.
And what did you think of him then?
Well, he had changed. But deep down, I still saw the young man I knew.
Granny Mae, I want to know him.
I'm sorry. I know you do.
Other people who don't know a grandparent, they at least have a picture, a face that they can look at and find some connection, a name. Granny Mae, this man is still a phantom to me.
And so it must remain. Please, Justus, it's for the best.